Why, hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to take a little trip down the memory lane. I'm going to stop by Office Depot, a place where I used to work at back in 2014. It was my final retail job before I went to the car business. I'm going to take a little tour in there and then we're going to talk some things about Office Depot. Yeah, so this baler right here, not a lot of people like to use that baler. I'm always like the designated guy to make the baler for some reason. But it's so easy to make the baler. People just don't want to deal with the chicken wire and stuff. Uh-oh, someone didn't do their job. Top stock looks clean though. I'm actually kind of surprised no one has approached me yet. Notice out here is usually like the hot spot of people where humans love to steal. Because no one really goes around back here, take the stuff, and they just like stuff it like inside these cracks here. No, look. I don't know if it's for customers or for employees, but it looks like there's gummy bear wrappings down there. As you can see there. More likely it's probably a employee. It's pretty dead in here. So that was interesting. There was probably maybe 6 associates in there, and no one came and greet me. It's a big deal with Office Depot because we all had radios at the time, and you're supposed to greet all customers, and we do that because of one, customer service, number two, to deter from possible theft. I ran around twice and no one like said anything to me. The reason why I went around twice is like the first time when I went around, I wasn't paying attention and realized like I didn't turn on my autofocus on, so everything was blurry, and I was like, crap, I have to do it again. So I went around a second time with my autofocus, and still no one said anything to me. So shame on you guys. I worked in retail for almost 12 years. I started out working in GameStop. I ended as assistant manager at the age of 19. Then I worked at Office Max. Then I worked at Best Buy. Then I worked at Office Max again. Then I worked in Office Depot and Ross at the same time. Around that time, Obama had their Obamacare, and with Obamacare, like if you work as full time, the company has to provide you health insurance. And what retail like negates that is like they eliminate full time associate positions. So you can only like get like a certain amount of hours. I think before considered as full time, I think it was like 31 is the cap. And so when I worked at Office Depot, I worked at Ross at the same time. So I was working like 60 hours between two jobs. So like around late of 2013, I quit my job in Ross because around that time I was like working with Flora Supercon slash Animate Miami, and then I transitioned to UltraCon. And UltraCon, they wanted like more availability for me because they want to do these bi-weekly meetings, and it was really hard to do that when you had to work two jobs. So I took the risk and I decided to quit my job at Ross so I could focus on UltraCon. And yeah, it was a bad mistake because like these meetings were really pointless. So I only had really like one source of income. Like back then, like I had, willvolution, but I wasn't running like monthly tournaments at the time. So I literally had only Office Depot. My main position there was like I was a logistics specialist. But the reality is like I don't even know why there's specialist jobs in there because they kind of like want to force you to like do everything. Because not only I worked in logistics, working on freight and truck and stuff like that, I worked in receiving. I worked in computers because I could sell computers. I could sell their little plans and stuff like that. I worked in copy center. I worked in cash register. I was literally doing everything. Our busiest time of the year is always back to school. So yeah, it was definitely a pain during the summertime working at Office Depot. Around that time, we had two other associates. We had Franz and we also had Jeff. Um, Franz was pretty cool, but Jeff is like really lazy. And during the summertime, like he always like kept like egging me on to speak out and tell him like we need more hours and stuff like that. He's like you're the veteran, Will. You need to speak out. And I'm just like they're not going to give us more hours because of Obamacare. So what's the point of speaking out? And he kept egging me on, every time, and I just didn't want to do it. I was just like, shoot, why don't you do it, Jeff? And he's like, no, they're not gonna listen to me. And like, they're probably not gonna listen to me too. So the following morning, came in at 6 a.m. I walk in, and it was like, I forgot his name, but it was like a new kid, and he was playing on his 3DS, playing Smash Brothers, and I'm like, what are you doing out here? He's like, there should be somebody in there. And he's like, I tried to knock and no one answered. I'm like, all right, let me give him a call. No one answered. And I was just like, I see the lights on, so someone has to be in there. So like I took the tip of my key and I tapped on the window. And when you do that, like it's very loud. Like people in the back will hear you. And I kept doing it and I was just like, what's going on? And I know there's some people in there because they were doing some graveyard shifts. And what they're trying to do is trying to fix the top stock because we have like a bunch of supplies from back to school and they're trying to fix the top stock because it was a mess. So I knew it was Rosa and Jeff working the graveyard shift. So I'm like tapping and they're not answering. And I see Jeff like going up and down the ladder like in a crack of like, of the aisle. I'm like, I know he can hear me. So eventually Gloria came out and she was in the back and she was kind of looking all like, trying to do like one of these motions and stuff like that. And then she like let us in and she's just like, what's the deal with Rosa and Jeff? They didn't let you guys in. And I'm like, yeah, I kept tapping the windows. Like, yeah, I could hear it from the freaking office. And I'm like, and I call it too. It's just like, yeah, I was counting the register. And I'm like, okay. So I walk up to him in the binder aisle, and I'm like, don't you guys hear us? And then like Rosa was just like, well, your B of a manager should stop being lazy and answer the door. It's not my job to answer the door. And I'm just kind of like, and I looked at Jeff, and Jeff's kind of like shrugged, and I'm like, okay, and I just simply walked away. So doing a truck, doing my usual routine. So I text Andre at the end of my shift. I'm like, hey, you think you clocked me and the other kid? It's just like we were there at 6 a.m., but, for some reason, like Rosa didn't let us in. And then I told her like what she said about Gloria. And he goes, what? She called her a B? And I was just like, yeah. And then he's like, okay. So I think like immediately like Andre like texts Rosa and it's like trying to get to the bottom of things. So next day usual routine, and then I saw Rosa walking in the office like all mad, and I was just like and then like she looked like she grabbed her purse and she's about to storm out. She looked like she was about to cry, and then Andre stopped her, and then they went back in the office, and then I was just like what the hell is that about? And like during the middle of the day, Andre was just like, hey man, we need to talk after your shift. So after my shift, went in the office and Rosa's in there, and Andre wanted to talk about what happened on Monday morning. I told him everything, and then Rosa's just like, okay, all that story is true except one thing. I didn't call her a B. I call her an irresponsible person. And I kind of looked at her. I was just like, I could hear you very clear. I was like, if you would have said irresponsible, like I would, hear that. But she didn't say irresponsible. You called her a B. And she's like, I don't know, where'd you get that from? I never called anyone a B in my life. So like I asked like Rosa, I was just like, where you call her a B or irresponsible, you think that would be good morale for the team? And she's like, yo, well, irresponsible isn't, it's constructive criticism, so it's not that bad. And I was just like, yo, you call her irresponsible because she didn't answer her door, but you're right there. So who's the irresponsible one? And she was just like, well, technically it's not my shift. I was working graveyard shift, so technically I wasn't working the morning, so it's not my job to answer the door. I kind of looked at her. I was just like, but you heard me. You know, it's just like, you know, Gloria's in the back counting money. You're like literally right there. Why don't you just answer the door or let Jeff answer the door? Because we're focusing on fixing the top stock. That was our priority. Our priority is not to answer the door. Kind of looked at her. I was like, okay, sure. And then Andre is just like, look, you know, it's just like, we need to work as a cohesive unit. You know, like, yes, I think you guys should just answer the door. It's just like right there. And Will, you know, we could just clock you in, so you shouldn't make this a big deal. I was definitely dumbfounded by all this. I'm like, yo, why don't we just bring Jeff in here? Because you did call her a B. I know you call her a B. And then she's like, yeah, let's bring Jeff in. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then Andre's like, no, guys, no. This is going to be water under a bridge, you know. Let's just have a reset and let's just keep it moving. And then that was it. So after I left, like, you know, I saw like Franz and Jeff. I guess they were waiting for me and they're like, you know, so what's going on? And I'm just like, I think we need to talk, guys. So we all went to like, you know, Chinese restaurant. You know, I called out Jeff and I was just like, remember all the times he kept telling me like, you know, I need to speak out. Now I'm speaking out and now you don't want to do anything. And I think you need to talk to Andre and tell him what you hear. And he's like, yeah, man, but, you know, thing is that Rosa could get in trouble. And, you know, I don't want to get in trouble. You know, I think it's like a Latin thing. We all need to, you know, the Spanish people need to stick together and stuff. And I'm like, so you're going to willing to lie for her? Is that what you're trying to say? It's like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, like, I'm not going to get her in trouble, so I'm not going to say anything. And I'm like, I just laughed because I was just like, you know, didn't you tell me throughout the summer, like, you know, I need to speak out for us because I'm the veteran, and now I'm speaking out and stuff, and you don't want to back me up? What's going on? You know, and Franz is like, you know, dude, tell him the truth, man. Tell Andre the truth. And Jeff like was like in an awkward position. Like, I'm like, dude, you know, it's either you tell the truth or I'm quitting. And he's like, you know, you're not gonna quit. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna quit. So Franz is just like, you know, hey man, you need to tell Andre the truth, man. Because you did tell Will that he needs to stand up for all of us, and now he's doing it, and now you're backing out. Come on, bro. And he didn't believe me. And he was just like, oh, well, you can come the next day, man. You know, don't be like that. I'm like, Jeff, I put my neck out there and I finally spoke out. Like, I didn't have to mention what went on that morning. I could say, hey, can you clock me in because no one let us in or whatever. But, you know, I told Andre the whole detail that morning. And I did that because, you know, I need to speak out, right? You know, because these supervisors are running over us and taking advantage of us. So this is our opportunity to finally speak out and defend ourselves, right? And then Jeff's like, yeah, but I don't want to get in trouble. So afterwards, I look at Franz and I took off my shirt and I was just like, just give this to Mike the next day, bro. Because I don't think Jeff's going to speak. He's like, come on, Will. It's just like, you know, you can't do this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this. And I was like, you better speak out and you need to tell Andre the truth. Once you do that, then I'll come back. If not, then I wish you guys good luck. So when I got home, I texted Andre. I was just like, look, dude, I quit. And he's like, you're going to quit just like that? Don't give me any notice? Like, yeah, I'm done, dude. You know, I had enough of this place. And he's like, well, we need to talk about it. And I was just like, well, you could talk to Franz and Jeff. I'm pretty sure they have something to say. But if they didn't want to say what they should say, then there's no point in me coming in there. For years, you guys been promising me a supervisor position, but then, You give me the runaround, and you got people in there that just like, are very toxic. I'm just like, I just can't deal with it no more, dude. I'm done. I'm going somewhere else. It was definitely tough to make that decision because, we all hate to change. But I had to do two drastic things in 2014 in order for me to evolve. One was to quit the retail business, and number two, I had to step away from the fighting game community. Focus on the car business, and sure enough, the rest was history. If there's one lesson to be learned with all this, it's this: do not set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Focus on yourself. So with that said, that's it with my vlog. I hope you guys enjoy it. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.